Hey, everybody.
Welcome to Trust Relations, the podcast.
I'm here with April, the founder of Trust Relations and the doyen of all things public relations.
And of course, we're joined by the wonderful Hamish, our marketing lead and expert in the space, who I like to call my marketing other half.
We're tackling some of the biggest topics in news and integrated marketing and learning from the mistakes that make headlines or sink brands.
So join us as we have a chat about what works, what doesn't, and what we have to say about all of it. Hamish does the happy dance.
Yeah, that's my Brad Pitt dance. Wait.
The burn after reading dance?
Yeah.
Wait, what, are you already celebrating that you already got in your stupid word of the day?
No, but no. God, I don't know how I'm going to do it.
I don't think mine is easy either. We got to keep it. We got to keep the competition alive.
Well, I think it's alive and well. It's going to be tough today.
Good.
Yeah. This will bring my mood right down. Yeah.
Wait, what happens? Are you a sore loser? What happens if you lose?
I will cry.
Will you?
Mm.
What happens if you lose at bowling? Do you cry?
Never lose at bowling. I mean, stupid question, stupid answer.
What happens when you lose at soccer?
Cry? No, I'm not a bad loser. I think I'm okay losing as long as I feel that I have done my best. If I feel that I have been half-assed, then I'm not so happy, but it's more with myself.
You're so hard on yourself.
It's true.
Be nice to
What about you?
Hamish.
I've been told I have to be nice to myself. I have to be kind to myself.
You need to be much nicer to yourself.
I try. Are you a good loser?
I've gotten better. I used to be a terrible loser. Terrible. It was so competitive growing up. I've gotten much more adult about it. I avoid.
Bad when you turn 50.
Huh?
It's not bad now that you're 50.
I'm not 50. How dare you?
I know. Yes, I know. I'm sorry.
30.
I know. Yes.
Why did you add 20 years to my life?
What's 20 divided by 10? By 2. Oh God, I'm getting confused.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So how's your week been?
Not bad. I think pretty good. Working on a few new processes that we're implementing internally.
I know. I like your graphic.
No, thank you very much. Yes, I think just sometimes simplification of things that you've developed is often core to improving them. And I think that graphic you're talking about shows the evolution of where we're taking a few things, which is exciting.
Very exciting.
Look forward to telling everybody about them soon. Other than that, that's right. Everybody, you can't know yet.
Nice.
And you?
It's been a good week so far. It's beautiful out now, so we have the gorgeous summer kind of weather happening.
Good.
Hi everyone. This is your show producer, Veronica, dialing in with today's communications buzzwords. April's word is aegis, and for Hamish, the word is bilous. Happy listening.
All right.
Should we jump into our actual agenda here?
Absolutely, because I'm dying a slow death.
Are you? No, you're not. Stop doing that to yourself.
Yes.
Terrible.
I'm going to shadow ban myself.
Don't do that. You're gonna
come on, that was the best. That was the best segue that we could have had.
Wait, is that your word of the day? Shadow ban?
No. That's the first thing I thought we were going to discuss today. Social media platforms deny, but content creators and tracking websites confirm that shadow banning or silent censorship.
Oh, so you were setting us up for a wonderful transition, and I just accused you of using your word. We're off to a rip-roaring start here.
Wow. That, very bilious of you. Very unfair. Very unfair.
Okay. All right, so let's get into this. So social media platforms deny, but content creators and tracking websites confirm that shadow banning or silent censorship is real.
Hmm.
Shadow banning or ghost banning is act when social media posts are taken down, muted, or hidden from followers without informing the user creator. A
Hmm.
user could continue posting, but their post won't be visible to the rest of the community. While social media platforms have denied that shadow banning exists, many content creators and internet users believe otherwise. In the last few years, many shadow banning trackers have also cropped up on the internet. So, I mean, I have actually experienced it myself. So,
Mm.
I know this is possible. Also, for some really strange reason, Chris and I suspect that in trying to advertise my TEDx talk on YouTube, that it has somehow gotten flagged as something that needs to be censored. Get
You were
into
banned on YouTube, are you saying, or on other platforms
that
because of the YouTube advertising?
the no that the ad itself is not getting put through. So they were saying there's something wrong with
Mm.
the with with like the guy that was doing it said he's only seen this twice in his career.
Wow.
And once it was for there was a red flag on something, and once it was that a senior living community was getting flagged for doing real estate advertising or something. And
Mm.
so it's not a common occurrence, but so we were kicking it around. We're like, there's no way to know for sure that that's what's happening, right? But
Mm.
there are
Well,
definitely algorithms and things in place and even people in place that are meant to review things. And
mm.
we even had a guest on the PR Wind Down once who his job was basically to look at, whether things should be flagged. And they were told to ban certain things that had a political spin.
Leaning.
Yeah.
Mm. Wow. Okay, interesting. Because I know shadow
Yeah.
banning has been around, dare I say it, 30 odd years, because it actually originated when, in the heyday of the internet, when people used to use message boards. Do you remember those days? The fun old days where you post
I
on a
mean,
message board?
barely. I don't think I did it, but a friend of mine in high school who was very tech,
Mm.
tech geeky and whatever, and had some older girlfriend, and they were using message boards to communicate or something.
I
I was
mean,
like,
you were only 6 or 7 years old in '91, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it started off as a moderation technique. It was like a timeout board, so that if things were getting a bit heated, it was how the moderators would bring things back to a sense of equilibrium, and it's sprung forth from there. But yeah, I think it's now more algorithm driven. But you're
Hmm.
right, there's still a lot of oversight by probably some people with prejudices. Look, it is real, and I mean, the problem I think is for brands and creators that are using social media to monetize their messaging. And if you're being banned because of perceived slights or something that's rubbed someone the wrong way, that is affecting your income now. And there has to be, I think, a little bit more transparency to why this happens. I know Instagram and commentators have come out and said, look, if you stick to the policies and procedures and guidelines of our platform, and you're not doing this in terms of service state that you can't do these things and you don't do them, you'll be fine. I still think it's a little bit mm, ambiguous.
Hmm. It is for sure. And you don't know why your ad got flagged or didn't get flagged. You're never going to know if it got shadow banned or whatever, but you do know that people that used to like your stuff don't like your
Don't.
social media stuff anymore, don't see it anymore, and they're like, "Oh, I never saw that."
Well, this is the thing. It'd be
Huh.
interesting to know. I mean, it's hard maybe for YouTube, but my understanding of shadow banning is that your followers will still see it, but just less regularly. But the people who would like to find you, so if it's Instagram again, the explore function and the ability to find you via hashtags is decreased. So you're still visible, you're not banned completely. It's just the ability for people to find you easily is
Yeah,
one of those
very.
words.
I think it's very disconcerting.
Look, it is silencing free speech to some extent. And the irony is, yes, I think yes, it started on message boards, but then it's become more popular again because of things like Twitter. Is there a reason for it? Maybe. I mean, where do you draw the line?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think for something that's clearly illegal behavior, that's one thing, but just to, silence somebody because their political leanings or their opinions are not sanctioned by the tech powers and government that be,
mm,
that's not good.
I agree.
Because
I think
you
we're on
don't
the
want,
same page.
that's just a bad precedent to set.
I think it's been set. That's the problem. Now we've got to overturn it.
We have to undo it. Time for
Yeah.
the savages to come back to the Brave New World. Wait, have you seen Brave New World or read it?
No, no.
Oh my god, it's so good. Also, Brave New World is on Peacock as a TV series and it's phenomenal.
I haven't seen, I haven't read it. Obviously, I think the other one, which I haven't seen, but everyone said is potentially a foreshadowing of where things could go if it went south, was Handmaid's
1984.
Tale.
Oh,
Oh, Handmaid's Tale. In 1984, I've read.
yeah.
I mean, the fact that it was written so long ago is scary too. Whereas all
Yep.
these other ones are just projecting forward, 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
That
no,
was,
Aldous Huxley also wrote Brave New World around, I think it was around the same time frame as George Orwell. So it's another one of those like, oh, that's yeah, exactly. But yeah,
mm,
so put that in your queue. So key takeaway from the shadow banning article is that it does seem that shadow banning is happening, and it doesn't seem like it's something that's good for society. But I'm not
mhm.
sure. I'm not sure what we, as marketers and/or citizens of the world, can do about it other than keep an eye on it and not support it. Is there
I like
anything
it.
else that can be done?
We can mount a movement as the consumers of their said products and try and get more transparency for the purposes of creating a more tolerant and understanding world. But I don't think that's going
Okay, you could put out TEDx talks that also get shadow banned.
to happen.
Should we get into campaign essentials?
Let's do it.
That sounded also kind of like Brad Pitt's character from Burn After Reading.
Oh, really? He sounds a bit stupid. What are you saying?
That you sounded a bit stupid.
What do you mean?
So today we're going to cover the top 3 mistakes or missteps that brands tend to fall into when they're launching a marketing campaign. The last time we left it to me to talk about the PR mistakes and missteps, but what are the Hamish? I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
On the hot seat? In the hot seat?
In the hot seat. In the hot seat.
You don't put someone on the hot seat, do you?
I mean, is it the same? You're in or on a seat?
Yeah, but I
You're
think
on.
you're on it
On.
makes sense. You're going to sit on that chair, but you also sit in that chair. So you're in the hot seat. We call it we say in the hot seat here.
It's probably in the hot seat.
Mm.
Thanks for pointing it out so I look dumb in response to you looking dumb.
Yeah.
You just had to get me back. It's just competitive. That's all that's happening.
You brought a water pistol to a gunfight.
Oh, God.
Look, this is a good question. And I think that there's probably many aspects to this. But I think one of the key things that brands fail to realize is one of those things that we do trust, and that's getting alignment between the storytelling and the story doing. I think a lot of brands know what they want to say, and they, in their excitement to launch something new, whether it's their brand overall or a new product or a new fresh look, whatever it might be, they're so caught up in it and they start to believe their own hype a little bit too much that they lose track of what's actually defensible, that they can actually go out and say, that they can back up with facts. And I think part of that is that they're saying what they want to rather than what people need to hear. I think that there's often a misalignment between what people search for brands for. They have a problem, they're looking for that to be solved. And whilst brands can solve that, they're often saying, they're coming out of the blocks saying, these are the reasons that you should use us, and this is what we're doing. And that makes us different to everybody else, but it still doesn't tap into answering what are some of the pain points that their customers have. And if you fail to address pain points in some respects, and you're always aspirational, you're not actually creating resonance in that user's mind. And whilst there's probably exceptions to the rule, because there always are, and I'm thinking of Apple products, which do the hype so very well, but they have long, slow burning campaigns before the products even come out. And they have the pockets and the budgets to do that. Not everyone else does. If you don't, and you come out and people can access that product quickly, and the hype isn't there, I think that can be something that really burns you. So I think that would be my number one, that you may have to make sure that you're addressing pain points and that your story doing and storytelling are in alignment.
It reminds me a little bit of that. I was showing you the website for that prospect last night that I was working on the proposal for. And it sort of felt like, rather than having a clear, distinct point of view and offering that they knew people wanted, it's like, well, let's just throw the kitchen sink at it and use all of the buzzwords. And that's what's going to draw. And that's
I've got that word. Yes.
Sorry. That's somehow what's going to bring people to the offering, rather than, okay, what do people actually need? What problem are we actually solving? Is there a demand for this? Okay, let's build it. So it felt a little bit like they were doing it in reverse. It was amazing.
It was a crypto, open source,
decentralized.
NFT. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it was a lot of stuff going on. And I think that actually it's a really good kickoff point for number 2, which I think sometimes leans into the digital side more. And obviously I'm taking more of a digital slant. When you're setting up your website, I think too often, if you don't have an expert who knows what they're doing, and you haven't appointed one, when it comes down to the insertion of keywords into your website copy, or even into your press, as I'm sure you can lean into and talk about a bit more than I can, that people often just cram keyword after keyword after hot topic into their website, thinking, oh, this is what everyone's talking about. And it goes from sounding like it's in English, or if you're in another language, French or whatever it might be, into gobbledygook, because you're just cramming too many buzzwords into your content. And you end up alienating your audience because they don't know what you're standing for or what the key message is that they should take away. And that content then becomes disingenuous, it becomes confusing. And if you have those two factors working in tandem, it means that you're probably going to alienate and lose the people who have come to your owned media. They're confused, they don't know what it means, they don't know what to do next, whatever it might be. And if you look at it from a search engine point of view, all the algorithms are much more semantic these days. If it doesn't make sense and it's not logical, it doesn't have value add to a reader, you're going to be downweighted in their search results. And that's going to make it harder for people to find your brand when they do a search. It means that if you've got that, too many keywords on a page, as I said, that you're not going to rank well for any of them. So again, those pages are going to be downweighted. And if it's confusing, then another search signal, which is time on site or anything like that, might suffer as well, which is all going to work to your detriment.
Agreed.
And then if I was to lean into a third, it's that you need to be in all places at all times. As a new campaign, and again, unless you're one of the huge players in the market where you have budgets that extend for miles and miles, it's not realistic. And even if you do, I think it's not realistic to try and lean into all marketing channels. If you choose social, you don't necessarily need to choose every platform on social to reach your audience. You become fragmented. You're not going to reach the saturation that you need to. And that goes above and beyond just social. If you're trying to be on social, have a web presence, do search marketing, have email marketing, have sales messaging, have after sales messaging, and so on and so forth, and you don't pick a lane in a way that is actually going to resonate very well with your audience, or you're not talking to them in a native way for that platform, again, you'll alienate them. Be all things to all people across all platforms, when if you were to translate that to the real world, you couldn't do it.
Mm.
Do you think you should do it when you're doing marketing? Whilst marketing gives you the ability to stretch yourself beyond, a one-on-one and go one to many, truth is, if you're doing that, you're probably stretching your budget too thin, not doing it as well as you could, and you're not going to be returning the results that you probably want. I think sometimes it's better to pick and choose a few core platforms with, unified messaging that reinforces it. So if someone sees one message on social and then they go to your website or they get a phone call or whatever it is, there's consistency of message.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that leans into people perceiving you as authentic. And if they perceive you as authentic, they like what you have to say, and the price point is right, well, then you've got more chance of converting them because you have created a more unified and solid experience for them than if you are a bit more sporadic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would round out my top 3 on launching a marketing campaign. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're too kind.
Applause.
So yeah, I think it's hard, and look, there's many other factors that you could definitely argue need to come in there, but as often as not, when we're working with clients and people coming to us, or, they're some of the things that time and time again you need to reinforce, because they're the things that if you get wrong really can affect the success of a campaign.
Right. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you very kindly. Hmm.
Do we want to do a quick recap for our listeners what the top 3 things are?
Would you like to do it?
Let's see if I can remember. So the first one was making sure that you understand sort of your reason for being and are communicating that in a compelling way that actually solves what your end user, customer, clients, etc. actually need you to exist for. The second one is making sure that you don't throw every single possible differentiator and buzzword and message about yourself all in at once, but be a little bit more choosy or sort of custom pick what those things are that it is that really make you stand out and focus on those.
Yeah.
And then the third one, it's more important to be consistent in your messaging than try to be everywhere all at once, because most budgets can't afford that unless you're already a very established, very big brand. But pick and choose the channels that are most strategic to reach your target audience.
Perfect. You did very well.
Yay,
Very, yes.
Now I'm clapping for myself.
Yeah, I like it. I think listening to you say it back, one thing that I've realized, you could encapsulate all of it, is it's about refinement. Refine your messaging, refine the platforms that you use, and refine the terms that you go out with. And if you can do that and get it down, and just keep realizing that what you're doing is an art and you just have to keep perfecting it at all times, you're going to stand a greater chance of standing out.
I like that. I think that people don't realize how hard it is, and it's true with writing too. A lot of times people that aren't writers think, oh well, why don't you just make it really short and snappy? Like, because
Mm.
that's the hardest thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the taglines are the hardest thing to do, because it's a distillation of so many concepts and
Yeah.
ideas and values. So it's the same for your brand though, but a good brand is the same as a good tagline or a good writing. It's really really concise and really clear, and it looks easy because it's finally organic and fluid, but that's the hardest thing to pull off.
Yeah, it's a lesson. Refine and distill, and then you'll have a condensed, meaningful version. So,
very good.
Yeah. Look at us.
Look at us go. What should we get into next? Now we're just cooking with gas.
I would like to talk about sneaker supremacy. Nike and Adidas.
Talk to me.
Nike and Adidas.
Wait, why did you say as we would say? What would you say for Adidas?
Adidas.
Oh my God, you do not.
Sneaker supremacy, Nike and Adidas. Battle for brand love. Or Sneaker supremacy, Nike and Adidas battle for brand love.
That okay. Well, I actually understand that one.
The article talks about the fact that
Do you want me to jump in here? Or are you just gonna do both sides for a while?
I'm going to do both sides because both brands have been duking it out for 6 decades. The article is based on the premise that athletic brands and shoe brands, given the size of the market at $310 billion globally, influence more than just functional benefits of wearing shoes. It's become a status symbol, a cult symbol. It's become many, many different things. And this is about how both brands are looking to evolve and capitalize on the fact that they are more than just fashion or function. And that they're going to be moving into the digital and metaverse, and even into, dare I say it, the weird and wacky world of NFTs. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't get it. I understand. I don't even.
You love it.
Oh, I'm such a fan. And I don't know, as I said to you before we started, if it just means I'm getting old and I'm cynical. But NFTs, especially for a shoe brand, it's just freaking weird.
Well, I feel like some of this we've earned, right? So some of our cynicism is not just coming from the fact that we're old, but it's that we've lived through so many of these things that were hyped and then fall off the edge of the planet, right? So it's like, we saw when I'm trying to think what are parallel examples, but we've seen all kinds of things that seem like a really big fad or a really big deal, and everybody's all about it, and every single marketer has to do it, and then it's like you and I both know that the likelihood that this is gonna fall off the face of the planet, and I would give it 2 years max.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like when every
Like,
brand had to be crowdsourcing ideas, and that was the big new thing. And look, it still works occasionally. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the way that marketing is done for all intents and purposes. And this is the same. I agree with you. It just seems like it's a grab for relevancy in the current conversation rather than a long-term play. Because they're showing this in this article, the marketing guide. They show a tweet. This is one of those examples about jamming every keyword you can into your copy. And I quote, the FKT times Nike Dunk Genesis, the first FKT times Nike Crypto Kicks NFT sneaker imagined for the year 2052, made of flexible screens, galactic exploration outsole, and mods, powered by the revolutionary skin Viotech. Huh?
I don't even know was that English, or did you just like have an AI robot write that for you?
Yeah. And this is the thing. I mean, I know that there are a segment of the market that have heard that and who are listening going, shit, yeah, that's cool. Love it. Eating every word up. And that's really good for potentially a small segment of the market. But these are not segment brands. These are mainstream, massive brands. And they're trying to evolve the rest of the market in a way that just alienates a few of us. Because if you don't understand that and you're looking at these shoes when you play the video, it spins and things light up like a hologram. But the way it lights up, it makes me think of shows made in the 90s where they're talking about the future and you realize that the person you're talking to is actually a robot because they start glitching. And I know they're trying to show some funky feature.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. And this article talks a lot about the origins of, both Adidas and
Adidas.
Nike. We can have our own wars. And I've read Shoe Dog. I don't know if you've read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight before, and his rise to the top of the shoe game, how he wrote papers at university because he was a track runner himself, and he was getting shoes from Japan directly from Tiger because they were better running shoes than Adidas, and then how he realized that it was very expensive and he was always spending money on doing this and he could set up his own with the technology. Anyway, really fascinating story, and interspersed with his love life and his children, and interesting, easy to read. But I think, excuse me, it talks about how consumers want to be the hero and how both brands and all brands really lend into that and realize that if you want to grow your brand, you make the wearer feel invincible, you make them the hero. I just don't see how NFTs and metaverse lean into that. And I wanted to, throw this to you to see, from a PR point of view, is there a reason? Is this a great story to tell? Is this why they're doing it? What's the reason behind it?
The reason behind NFTs in general, or the reason behind the wars between Adidas and
The
Nike?
war between these two and why they would move into this weird new world.
I mean, I feel like it's probably for the sake of press. I don't know that they actually, it doesn't read to me as a legitimate thing. I feel like one of them pitched it, but I don't know, because what I'm not seeing is any hard news in here.
No, look, I
So
would
what
say
I
it
don't
was.
understand is like, what if, it feels like it's a plant. It's probably a plant by Adidas, because I don't really think of
Agreed.
Nike and Adidas being on even playing fields anymore.
Look, I know that
Maybe not fair
Adidas
of me,
punch
but
above their weight. No, they punch above their weight, and they do very well, and they always have. And I agree with you. I can't see Nike wanting to admit that Adidas are on the same playing field, because that doesn't have any advantage for them. So I agree. It sounds like a bit of a plant. Yeah, look, and it is interesting reading, and we'll share the link in our comments so that everyone else can weigh in on this. But I can't wrap my head around why either brand would want to launch an NFT and how that's going to have appeal or meaningful value for the company long term, unless they're planning to commoditize and set up an exchange for their NFTs. But that doesn't work because it's an open marketplace anyway. So I don't know.
I think it's a PR play more than a legitimate. We got sucked right into it because we were debating it, but I think it's a mostly illegitimate, mostly illegitimate rivalry. Do you think of Nike and Adidas being anywhere in the same universe in terms of their brand supremacy?
I just wanted to ask a question. Did you just use your buzzword?
No, what did you think it was?
Illegitimacy. Okay.
Oh, I mean, I wish that were my buzzword. Amazing.
Okay. Do I see them on the same playing field? I definitely hold them up as the top two brands. It's interesting to see that the one that used to be at the top was the Reebok way back when in the 90s.
Right.
They've really, I don't know what went wrong there. They've imploded, exploded. I think that these two brands are now definitely top of their game. I have started to feel in many ways that the Adidas brand is more accessible and more generally wearable, whereas the Nike, unless you're buying just the run of the mill sports shoe, once you start getting up into the more designer style of it, there's a huge market out there now for the sneakerheads and trading and holding and having their uniques and pimping out their shoes and doing all of these things. I think that Nike does that better. But when you talk about the run of the mill for the everyday consumer who is not overly invested, I think they're probably on similar territory. Although maybe personally leaning, Adidas is a little bit more approachable.
I think so too. Okay, so I would say that the key takeaway, it feels like this is probably, in my mind, the story that was pitched by Adidas to like protect their their brand and try to throw them in the ring and give them some aegis and like just say this is like we're as big as Nike and we're amazing, and I think it's a plant.
Can we put a pin in this as something to potentially circle back to and watch this space on?
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. We're gonna reserve judgment, final judgment.
Yeah.
All right. So Hamish, do you want to do our marketing conundrum?
I would love to.
Okay.
I'm going to throw to you occasionally on this one because you've seen some of this first.
I have. So marketing conundrum of today is what happens when a client wants to DIY their website.
Now, we should probably define this just so that we can get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, I think we should focus on clients that think, well, why should we pay you
Okay.
$25,000 for a website when I can do one on Squarespace or Wix or
Mhm.
hire somebody from
Yep.
overseas to use a template to
Yep.
do it for $1,500.
Perfect. Okay. So taking that as our lead, where to start? Okay. I think if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I spoke about the fact that everyone has exposure to marketing and therefore to some large extent devalues the work that goes into what makes marketing successful. And of course, I'm not speaking for everybody, otherwise, marketing and advertising agencies wouldn't exist. But there's a large proportion of the market that don't understand that marketing is actually, to a large extent, a science and it requires specialists who know exactly what they're doing. And in this instance, people who are looking to do their own marketing or don't understand why the process takes longer than they think and costs more in some respects. It comes down to understanding. When you are developing a website, it is about the strategy that underpins it. Why do you want a website in the first place? What do you need that website to do? And how are you going to facilitate making sure that when someone comes to your site, that they're getting to a point where you need them to? And when clients run off and they get pre-built sites from Wix or Squarespace or Weebly or whatever else out there, they're falling into this trap of, well, it's easy, it's quick, and I can do it myself. There's a lot of work that has to go on anyway. Whether or not you're using one of these templated sites or whether you're using someone who's overseas, there's pitfalls. One, you have to write the content yourself. Two, you can't always modify the site to do exactly what you want. So you end up shoehorning when you're using these template sites your content or your experience into what that template allows. And you're like, oh, I'd love it to do this. Well, I can't. All right, well, I'll just put the content here, and that doesn't really flow very well, or it doesn't actually take the person to where I need them to. So I'll just put a button here, and you start playing with layouts and you start bastardizing the user experience. And then that obviously has detrimental effect on what the outcomes are going to be. Or when you're using a third party who's doing it overseas and doesn't go through the process of mapping your user design or the persona of your customer into what that design looks like, they come back and then they've used templated sites that they've downloaded. And sure, they might be putting you on WordPress where you can put X plugins in. But if they're using a site that's been pre-made for them, they're not customizing it to what you want. And it's the same, as walking in, getting a pair of jeans that are too big for you. Put them on, sure, everyone knows that they're jeans, but it doesn't fit and it doesn't work for what you need them to. And you've got to then use belts to tie them up or something else that makes them functional to some extent. But you've got all this extra material that's hanging there. It slows you down. You can't run. And these factors are the same when it comes to your website. If you have a website that's been built, it's got a lot of plugins in the back, it's got a lot of pages and different functional elements that you're never using but are sitting there in the code base, you're slowing your site down. You're making it hard for your site to be updated in a meaningful way. And you're, again, shoehorning a solution, which means that your user experience is not good. It means your search experience won't be good because you have all of this extra code sitting there and you have all of these other factors that are slowing your site down, which to Google and Bing and the other search engines, search signals that say this site is not operating at its optimum and therefore needs to be downgraded in terms of its search significance. And that obviously then affects your lead sourcing capacity because you're not coming up high in search. So then you're paying for search marketing, pay-per-click or social advertising to try and bring people to your site. But then you can control what your ads say and or how they look a lot more because you can actually design those. But if you then have people as part of your lead acquisition strategy, your site looks one way and the ads look slightly different, and there's this dissonance between the two, then people are coming in and finding that there's this disconnect and the user experience falls away. So your storytelling doesn't match your story doing, to come back to what we were talking about before, in a way that actually perpetuates a meaningful experience with the customer or for the customer. And therefore, you're potentially going to be losing people's engagement and interest, and therefore the sale.
Yeah, so no, I agree with you. I think that, to add to that, something that I have done myself and also witness other people do is do it cheap to start, which then means that if you keep growing as a company, you're going to have to inevitably redo the entire thing.
Mm,
And so sometimes, if that's all you can afford for that moment, okay, fine. But if you're doing it to be cheap, and just because, well, I don't understand why to spend the money on it even if I have it, that's a different thing, because what's happening then is you're throwing away whatever small amount of money you're
mm.
putting into that, because you're inevitably going to outgrow that and need a better website. So why not, get the website that's going to last for the next 5, 10 years if you're lucky with updates. Obviously nobody's website can be static for 10 years, but
Yeah,
why not try to do the thing that's going to have longevity rather than just do something on the cheap and then have to redo it anyway. I mean, I have the same philosophy when I buy clothes and things like that. Why get something you can wear 5 times before it falls apart?
mhm. Yeah. And look, this is the thing. As I think there's a difference between bootstrapping your website if you're a startup and scrimping every dollar in your marketing budget to try and get the best possible website for no money at all. And I think if you're a bootstrapping startup, absolutely, it makes a lot of sense that you need to just get to market in many instances. But for anyone listening who is doing that, I would just caution it with, okay, have growth expectations, understand what growth looks like, and have you thought of the systems that need to sit behind your website that can actually help support your growth? So, can you plug your website into a CRM or into an automation platform or an email platform that will help you to then bring more people back and to retain them as loyal customers moving forward? If it can't, then how are you going to manage that? How are you going to go back after your repeat business? How are you going to therefore reduce your ongoing marketing costs? Or are you going to be always trying to acquire new customers? If it's the
Hmm.
latter, then you're spending money again into the future, which you could potentially save. Whereas if you have a well planned website, you're actually minimizing your longer term costs. So sometimes forward planning is important for your future growth. If you're a larger, more established business that's just saying, well, I don't understand the value of why that website would cost X, well, maybe do some further digging. I did some research. Independent third party to us. On average, the cost to build a website in America, which includes launching and designing it, ranges between $12,000 and $150,000. So it doesn't have to cost that much, but I think building the right website for yourself shouldn't be a afterthought of, oh, well, we're going to go into business now. Now we need to have a website. Well, anything will do. It is your single largest salesperson. Your website is always on. It is accessible around the world. And if you present it badly, you are costing yourself money. So if you
Hmm.
don't get it right from the outset, remember that that could be causing you to actually leave more money on the table than you're aware of.
I think that's smart. And just to add to what Hamish is saying, because he wouldn't necessarily uh, give himself this pat on the back, but I think that when you're dealing with a web designer that actually understands marketing and what your customers need to see, what your brand value is, it's very different than just having somebody who's good at design. So there, you
Yeah,
can have somebody that knows how to make it look pretty, and if that's all they can do, you might be fooled into thinking that it's more functional than it is because it looks sexy. But you need fashion and function, right? So you need somebody that also understands, not just that it looks cute, but also that it actually does what you need it to do from a sales perspective and lead gen perspective, and etc.
absolutely.
So I think it's, somebody like a Hamish is, not that it has to be Hamish, but somebody like him actually understands how to bring both components together, so you're getting the user experience that your users need to
Yeah,
capitalize on your offerings.
I would round that out by saying a website is more than just how it looks, as April said. It's about the strategy that sits behind it. It's about how it looks. It's about the functions and how you actually move people through the site to your meaningful gates. And it's also about simple things like optimization. Have you optimized the site for search so that it will come up in search results? Have you optimized the images to the smaller size so that your site loads faster? Have you gone out there and put your site on different directories so that people can find you more easily? And have you, tied it all together in a way that is part of a cohesive marketing strategy and not just a standalone part that has to be done because everyone's got a website?
Yep.
If you're not considering all those things, then you potentially need to speak to a third party who's going to give you an objective point of view. Something I often say to clients is that, sure, you know how to brush your teeth, but it doesn't make you a dentist. You go to the dentist when you know you have a bigger problem or that you need someone who's an expert to do something. And a website needs to be thought of in the same way. You know how to set it up and you know how to make it look great. But if you have a cavity at the back of your tooth, which no one can see, you need someone who can fix it. And you don't want to get to that point where it's too late and you lose the tooth. So speak to people ahead of time, realize that there is more to it than just how much you're spending up front, and you'll get a better result.
Bravo.
Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we missing? Communications buzzword?
Yep, go for it.
So it looks like,
You got it in.
I did get it in. So today's score, it was 12 for Hamish and 9 for me. And today we both got our words in, but did not catch each other's words, apparently.
Nice.
So it brings Hamish to 13 and me to 10. So I'm still 3 behind. But I did not get further behind.
No, you didn't. What was your word of the day today, April?
My word of the day was aegis.
Aegis. I think I heard you say that. What does aegis mean?
It means protection, support. It's a noun.
Lovely. When do you remember how you used it?
Used it talking about Adidas protecting their brand.
Lovely. Very nice.
Thank you. And you somehow got in the impossible word and I didn't hear it. What's your impossible word?
It was very difficult in the context. Mine is an adjective, meaning extremely unpleasant or distasteful, and it was bilious.
Bilious?
Bilious, yes.
When did you say bilious?
Oh, early on, about 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the show.
Come on. In what context?
I can't remember exactly, because it was a long time ago now, but I think I used it in the context of something left a foul taste. I can't remember exactly. I honestly don't remember, but I remember getting it in there.
Such a stinker.
Very clever.
Sneaky. Very sneaky.
I did not.
You did? You called me bilious?
Did I?
Okay, our show producer, for those who can't see our chat, Veronica just said you called April bilious. How bilious of you.
Well, I think that wraps up the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening in again. Don't forget, you can catch a show every 2 weeks wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
And remember, you can subscribe, rate, and share a show to keep the content coming your way to grow this community of communicators.
Before we sign off, though, we can't forget about this week's offer code.
Visit the link in the show notes below and use the code TRUSTANALYSIS9, TRUSTANALYSIS9, for a chance to win a free trust analysis workshop for the first to enter. And new clients qualify, terms and conditions apply. You can check out our webpage for a full rundown of the offer details. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Woo! Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye. It's like, I know that Adidas's sister brother brand you call Puma.
What do you call it?
Puma.
You do not.
We do.
Oh my God.
You got it's a Puma. No, it's a Puma.
Puma. I can't wait to put Puma on my feet. Sounds like so filthy.
And Puma doesn't sound much better.
Puma sounds fine.
No, not really.
Do you care to explain
Anyway.
why?
I'm pretty sure you've already done the math.
All right, my face is red. Let's move on. I mean, Brave New World is the thing we were talking about, which is very dystopian. So
yeah, August.
it's definitely not. Oh wow, somebody didn't like that.
Yes, I'm not moving into a Brave New World.
They're protecting us from the Brave New World.